In this video, I'm talking about autism sensory overload, so that by the end of the video, you'll know everything there is to know about it. Coming up. Hey guys, I'm Dan. I have autism, ADHD, OCD and dyslexia, and I make weekly videos on this type of content. So if you're new around here and you want to learn more, remember to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Oh, and if you're watching on Facebook, make sure to like and follow this page to get daily videos from me. In this video, I'll be talking about sensory overloads and how you can help overcome them and how you can help somebody else overcome them right now. Hey guys, at the beginning of every video, I read out questions from my Instagram page. So if you want me to read out your question and be featured in a video just like this, make sure to head over to my Instagram. The link is in the description below, or my tag is at the top here in this video, and make sure to follow me so that when I put on my stories that I'm asking you to ask me questions, you can ask me a question and be featured just like this. Okay, so the first question I've got here is from McClellanly, I can't say that name, and they said, what are some good calming toys? Straight off the bat, the Clicks toy, which is amazing. I'm sure I've linked it below, but I'll try and link it if I remember. It's called the Clicks, which is Klixx. And then the other one I would say would be a fidget cube, which has a bunch of different things on it, which is they're just so cool because you can just like there's a really smooth part of it when you rub that, and it really calms me down. I love it. Okay, so the next question is from 96 ESA Elgado, and they said, what is your biggest goal in life? That's a cool question. My biggest goal in life is to stay happy, and other than that, my biggest goal is to make, my YouTube channel the biggest YouTube channel I can, as a supporting beacon and a guide and a mentor and an educator and a helper and a friend for everybody who watches, because I just want to be the person who helps everyone. And just by watching this video now, I feel like if I help you, that's amazing, and I love that. So my goal is to make this the biggest channel I can, and first of all, I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers, and then I don't know, maybe 1 million. Let's do it. Okay, so the last question I've got here is from Millie_Moo1602, and they said, did you ever have meltdowns at school or in school, and how did you cope with them? So I did have some meltdowns in school when I was in primary school, but then I would be sent home, and I spent a lot of time at home because I didn't want to go to school. So I actually didn't spend a lot of time in school. When I was there, I was in like the special ed program, and they were like, it put me in like the library, segregated for like extra reading and extra time and all this stuff. So it was easier in primary school when I was in that kind of unit, but I did have worse ones when I was in college and university. It was just bad. There was no quiet rooms, and the pressure was just the same as everybody else, and it just kind of really got to me. And yeah, so I didn't deal well with it then, but what I learned though in university is to take myself out of that situation, walk out of the room, go, grab something like a green tea or some water and just chill somewhere for an hour or two, or however long it takes for me to calm down, and then go back to the situation. Thanks for the questions, guys. On with the video. Hey guys, a big hello to everybody. Welcome back to another Aspie World video. It's been ages, I think, because World Autism Awareness Week was last week, so I'm feeling pumped to get back to doing some new videos this week. So please let me know in the comment section below if you're watching this, if you have an autism spectrum condition, or if you're just watching to learn more and educate yourself because you love someone or know someone with autism. I'd love to know. Let's start that discussion. I read and reply to every single comment, so yeah, let's talk. Okay guys, so I want to go over a little bit about how autism and SPD, which is sensory processing disorder, kind of overlap or come together, if you will. So sensory processing disorder, or SPD, is where somebody is overly or underly sensitive to a certain stimuli from sensory input. So I actually did a video specifically on SPD, and I'll leave it in a card above here, just so you can check that out at the end of this video if you're interested. But for now, I'm just sticking to how this actually comorbidly exists with autism. So the sensory input is obviously connected to your brain in a way where you communicate with the senses of the outside, and then you decode that, and then that happens to be stored in a certain way so you understand exactly what's going on. Unfortunately, with people with an autism spectrum condition, sometimes they have a comorbid condition or a co-occurring condition, which is SPD with an autism spectrum condition. It's all down to how the brain communicates. So autism is a communicative and socially communicative issue. That's where it stems from. SPD is no exception. Sensory input is also down to communication, how your brain communicates to the outside world. So this is exactly how this co-occurs. So what is a sensory overload? So I want to talk a bit about a sensory overload because a sensory overload is essentially where somebody, an autistic person, for instance, is going to the supermarket. So an autistic person may walk into the supermarket and the lights on the ceiling are so bright that that person can't communicate that to their brain in the format that a neurotypical person would, and so the autistic person finds that very overwhelming. Now that's one thing. I mean, that alone could cause some sort of distress or could cause some sort of upset. Now, in terms of an autism sensory overload, this is how I would predict it to happen from my point of view, because I've had certain issues like this where I've had overloads in certain places. So you're going to the store, an autistic person walks into the store. I'll use me for instance. We'll go to the store, and there's lights on the ceiling that are really bright. They're fluorescent lights, and they're no good, and they're very irritating. But they're kind of like, it's almost like a buzzing, right? It's a buzzing noise in and around your head. Then you walk past like the entertainment section, and there's loads of like music just blasting out, kind of like rock and roll grunge music or whatever, and that's really loud, or it's dance music that's really loud, and so that's another buzzing noise in your head. So right now you got these two buzzing noises going on, and then you walk a little down the store a little bit further, and then all of a sudden you hit with the smell from the deli counter, which is loads of things like onions and spices and garlics and stuff like that, which are really overstimulating to your senses. Now you've got three things buzzing going on, and you're close to breaking point right now. And then the last thing is that you turn the corner and there happens to be like a busload of tourists that just pulled up, and they're everywhere, and they're noisy and they're rowdy, and the kids running everywhere, and you it tips you over the edge. There's too much going on. There's too many sensory stimuli feeding into your brain that you cannot categorize the way that neurotypical people can, and this is not good. And actually, in actual fact, this happens so much all the time. It happens to me almost every time we go shopping. It happens to get to maybe one or two things that are really going insane, and like, oh my goodness, there's like two buzzing noises going on. On really busy days in the summer, it becomes so overwhelming that I just kind of want to avoid the stores. We actually go at certain times so that it's a bit quieter. Now in the UK specifically, certain stores have autism hour, where like Saturday morning from 9 until 10 in the morning, there is they like turn the music down and they make it like a bit more autism friendly, which is okay. But I really believe that we need to push forward in the future to make sure that it's not just like one hour of a week that's going to be autism friendly. I think we need to make it like autism friendly across the board. So that is basically how a sensory overload occurs and what sensory overload is. But there could be a number of things. It's not just those senses. It could be sensitive to touch or heat or being in a certain place. So there's loads of different stimuli, and the stimuli is very individual to the person. Okay, it's going to be one of the senses, but at the end of the day, it's still the combination that's going to cause an overload will be individual to that person's needs. So how can you help a potential sensory overload? So I'm always a big advocate for preparation. So this is my thing. Now, look, if you're an autistic person, or you know somebody who is autistic, then you are going to know, you come to get to know them, what their triggers are, or what your triggers are. Like for me, lights, sounds, and smells are like the worst ones. So too much noise, like I can't focus if there's any other noise going on. It needs to be completely silent for me to do certain things. Like if I'm putting a bookshelf together, then I need complete silence, and I normally do it in my boxer shorts because I get really hot and just irritated because I'm trying to do something and all my focus is going on this one thing. So I would recommend that you study what your triggers are and how those triggers impact your life, and then see if there are ways that you can help overcome those in certain situations that may be heightened. So for me, when I'm going to the store, I'm usually wearing sunglasses, because the sunglasses help just break down that light a little bit. I mean, it doesn't get rid of it completely, but it definitely helps break it down so it's not so overwhelming. Another tip is that if I'm going to the store on my own and Naomi, my girlfriend, isn't with me, I actually put headphones in, and I just recently bought the Apple AirPods, and they're really cool because like they're really small and discreet, nobody can really see them. I do actually have noise cancellation headphones, which are linked in the description below. So if you're looking for very good noise cancelling headphones, like digital noise cancelling headphones, the link is in the description below. They're made by Bose, they're amazing, and I highly recommend them. So I would wear headphones, wear sunglasses, and I would avoid the aisle that has all the deli kind of smells on it, like the plague. I just like the other side of the store for me only, please, because this is too much. Now, that is one way of dealing with it. You can also prep so that if you know that somebody's going to get overwhelmed by too much going on and they can't focus, so say you go to a store or you go out to like a day out and there's loads of things going on and they're looking everywhere and their attention's going everywhere and it's causing them to become really overwhelmed, I would suggest taking something like, a Nintendo DS with them, or like an iPad or an iPhone or some kind of smart device that you can play their favorite game app on, or something that'll keep them focused. Because when they're focused on that one thing, their attention is on that one thing. So then the attention isn't going everywhere and they're not going to get overstimulated and overloaded, because it's all about prepping. It's always about prepping for that situation. And look, and the third and biggest thing in this idea of how do you overcome, or how do you potentially avoid situations of overload, look, let's put it this way. I know that if I went to a Comic Con, like a really big one, like a San Diego Comic Con or like London Comic Con, and I was just plonked in the middle of all those people, I'd have an instant overload. Too many people, too much noise, too much smells, too many things going on, right? So I just don't go. I just don't go to those things. I just avoid the things that I know are going to cause me stress, because if I avoid them, then I've avoided the potential of having an overload. I mean, that's just basic principles of just avoiding something that may be distressing. So what do you do if you with somebody during an autism sensory overload, or if you're a person who is taking care of somebody who has an autism sensory overload? So this is what I would advise. I would advise that you need to give the person space, that you have to try and dampen those senses as much as possible, like get rid of that music, move them to a quieter space, maybe like turn the lights off, try and shade the light from them, like try and get them outside, so away from the area that's causing this complete utter sensory overload. And then when they've calmed down, then you can kind of talk to them, make sure they're okay and stuff like that. So when it actually happens, when it's that imminent moment where it's like, oh my goodness, this person's having a really difficult time right now and they're sensory overloading and it's getting close to a meltdown, because this could be really big and it could be a really big catastrophe if it gets to a meltdown level. You need to kind of get rid of the sensory stimuli that's happening. So moving away from noise, moving away from smells, moving away from sounds, get them outside, away from that light, get it just really nice, relaxed, more calm, and more just calmer, really more relaxed. Like the situation needs to be more calm and relaxed. Now that is what you should do if you're trying to deal with somebody who's having an autism sensory overload. Now, what to do afterwards, this is key as well. Once they've calmed down and you've got rid of all that kind of crazy sensory stimuli that's causing them to go up and down and overload and stimulated, then you can then say to them, okay, right, we'll go somewhere where we know which is calm. So maybe that you have a sensory room, or you have sensory toys or fidget spinners, or look, maybe you like gadgets and you like going to Best Buy or PC World to look at the gadgets and gizmos and the computers and stuff in there. And that's cool, because what you want to do is take that person away from something that was like the worst position for them to be in, to put them into the most like comfortable position for them to be in. So if they love playing Rocket League or Minecraft or Pokemon or whatever, then get them in front of that game as quickly as possible so that they can like recharge on the things that they really enjoy. For me, I love like watching movies on UFOs and stuff like that, and researching like algorithmic changes and things in Google. So I'd just sit down at a computer and start reading those things, and I'd love it. And so that would calm me right down and get me back to kind of like a neutral level. So this is the big one. You have to make sure that you take them out of the negative situation into the positive situation, and this will help overcome all those the sticky issues where it would stick for a while and they'd be upset for a while. But again, you can use sensory stimuli for autistic people in a positive way. There are a bunch of sensory toys that you can buy. There's actually a link in the description below, actually, where you can get some money off. I think it's like 15 or 20% off sensory toys if you're interested in them. But I have a bunch of them. I have like Slinkies. I have like there's elastic band kind of balls. I have fidget spinners, fidget cubes, and all these things are cool. One of my favorite ones is a Clicks, which is just super awesome. And these are great. These are sensory stimulating toys that are going to encourage certain things through sensory. So you may have sensory rooms where you've heard before, you have sensory play or sensory therapy, where there'll be a room set up with certain things like bubble lights and like certain like foam textured walls and stuff like that. All this stuff is really cool because it's how the autistic person digests that information. It can be done in a really good positive way, rather than being like a concert where the music's blaring, it's hot, there's loads of people everywhere and it stinks of like gross like alcohol or beer or whatever. then they could be in a room where they have really cool, like, you know, bubble lamps, lava lamps, bubble machines, like foam bricks on the wall, stuff that they can like actually touch and really feel calm with, like fiber optic lamps and stuff like that. I love all that stuff. And I actually have a lava lamp here in my room, and I really enjoy just watching it because it's really calming, it's really soothing. And at the very least, try and maybe install a fish tank with some lighting, because fish is super sensory pleasing to watch. Fish just like moving about, and the bubbles in the tank and the lights in the water, it's super cool. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you want to watch another video from me, there will be some around me here. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time, guys. Peace.